If you've ever felt the pull to do something bold, but weren't quite sure when to make that leap, this conversation is for you.
Driven by purpose, fueled by passion, my words got power, my thoughts have action, motivation, stay gracious, that's greatness, be audacious, motivation, be audacious, innovation, be audacious, inspiration, be bold, motivation, be audacious.
So it's an AI historian for every family. So this is, if you think about a historian, it's almost like a journalist or like an investigative detective kind of thing, where we want to like record the source material today so the future can have a perfect understanding of the past. So what we do is not only do we record the text of what is shared, we record the audio as well. And so what we do is we create a model of the person that sounds like them and speaks like them and has all their memories, so that you can actually talk to the past.
What happens when curiosity, technology, and storytelling all collide in a way that could reshape how families preserve legacy for generations to come? This podcast is all about helping you unlock your inner greatness and live your best audacious life. My guest today is Cristian Cibils. He's the founder of Autograph AI, a company using AI and artificial intelligence to help families preserve stories, voices, and lived experiences in a deeply personal way. And you know, as we talked, I kept thinking about not only how cool this concept is, but also about the fact that the future is not just something that happens to us. It's something that we help build, one brave decision at a time. This one will definitely make you think. Here's my conversation with Cristian. Enjoy. Hey, Cristian, thank you for joining me here today on the Audacious Living Podcast. I appreciate you taking the time to be here, my friend.
Yeah, good to be here, Audley. Excited to chat.
Yeah, listen, it's always kind of great. For me, it's always great to sit down and connect with individuals who have got something to share with the world, right? I think that's kind of what it is. And, you know, you're the place, the space that you play in, the technology space, the AI space is an intriguing one, especially particularly these days with the rise of AI, and we're learning more almost daily as we go along. And, you know, I think it calls for those, in the word that comes to mind, a word I use an awful lot is bold, right? Some boldness will be required as we move forward, because you know, there will be some that will want to jump in the pool first, right? And there'll be some that want to tip their toe in, and some not sure. And so, you know, you have no problem being first, right? And you like to do that very thoughtful and thoroughly. And so, maybe as a starting point, I'll get you to introduce yourself to our audience, talk about the work that you do and what's got you to the point that you're at now.
Oh, sure thing. So yeah, I think you hinted at the fact that I'm in AI, I suppose. So we're building an AI company that is a pretty trippy concept. So it's an AI historian for every family. So this is, if you think about a historian, it's almost like a journalist or like an investigative detective kind of thing, where we want to like record the source material today so the future can have a perfect understanding of the past. The way we do it is our historian Walter will call you or your parents or your grandparents once a week and interrogate you about your life, you know, like interview you about your life. We'll ask you about your childhood, your friends, your upbringing, your college experience, whatever it is, wherever your journey has taken you, Walter will walk with you. And we keep that all in like the central repository, so like family library for every family.
Sure.
And we write like this Wikipedia article for each person, place, event, you know, things of the sort. If you think about grandma's life, then all of a sudden all of grandma's recipes are there, all of grandma's, you know, the books that she's read, the movies that she's watched.
Yes.
And, you know, if you think about that expanding over time, it's not just grandma, it's grandpa, it's the aunts, uncles, cousins. And like, so all of a sudden you have this, like all your tribal knowledge there to support you.
Yes.
Yes. The real kicker though is Walter isn't just an input mechanism. So Walter isn't just asking you questions about your life. He can also surface some of the tribal knowledge from your family or loved ones back to you.
Gotcha.
So the
It was
idea
funny. It was
is,
funny. Sorry, when you said Walter's not just an input, was he a cousin too? Is he related? Like that's what
he's a brother. At
surprise.
this
He's
point,
your father. sorry.
I'm dead. That is Walter
I didn't mean to
is
digress. My
actually,
apologies. You stay on your
man, that's
track.
too funny. Oh man. The no, but the idea is that Walter can ask you like, like, Audley, how's your week doing? And
Yeah.
you can say something like, it's kind of a crazy week, Walter. Like we we got a job offer and I may have to move to New York. And Walter can say, hey, actually that reminds you of something your grandfather went through.
Wow. Wow.
Do you want to talk to him for 15 minutes? So what we do is not only do we record the text of what is shared, we record the audio as well. And so what we do is we create a model of the person that sounds like them and speaks like them and has all their memories so that you can actually talk to the past. Uh,
Christian, I'm
and
laughing because it's mind blowing. I mean, you talk
I
about the
know.
future being now. Come on, man.
I know, man. This is my job. Can you imagine? And I'm doing this for my family, like, so I'm doing this for my dad, I'm doing this for my mom, my grandparents, like,
Yeah.
I still have two sets of grandparents or two grandparents. Um, and so the idea is like, like we get history through a textbook, we get history through like the stories that just keep repeating themselves over time. But as we leave the family nexus, let's call it the nest, those stories, like, like it takes a lot of effort to preserve them, to
Sure.
retell them, and the frequency with which we hang out is it reduces over time, right? And so, what if we just gave families a tool to accrue like social capital, independent of time, independent of space? And of course, like we're starting with families because like these are the most precious stories that we,
Sure.
like grab, we have we don't know when it will be too late. And so we have to start with like the most loving, like the people that we want to record. But this would apply to any group, like your high school friends, your college
Sure.
friends,
Sure.
like anybody that you have like a shared mythos with.
Wow.
And so that's what I do. I mean, I'm happy to tell you how we got here. That's a whole
Please
other
do,
crazy
because it
story.
doesn't. It didn't.
Okay.
You weren't just birthed here. Like something. Like this is a. There was. There was. I would like to think that there were several steps to get you to the point that you're
Oh
at
yeah.
now.
Oh yeah, man. Oh my God. So I grew up in Paraguay in South America, which
Okay.
is, if you're a Lord of the Rings guy, Paraguay is the Shire of the
Okay.
world.
Okay.
It's very, agricultural. It's about the simple life. It's like, like a lot of family events. Nobody ever leaves, and so there's like four generations of folks, usually pretty big families too, like 5 or 6 kids. Uh, and so there's like a big network of folks, and there's always a wedding, there's always a graduation, there's always a birthday, there's always something, and everybody goes to everything. And so I think this is kind of like just painting the initial idea of the story. My parents happen to be tech entrepreneurs in Paraguay, which is
Okay.
extremely rare. Like this is like when my dad was studying computer science in the 80s in Paraguay, he was the only guy in his class of 45 computer scientists. And that's where he met my mom. And they decided to start a company together. I watched them iterate and try different things, from selling Microsoft software to building like a word processor for notaries and things like that. And eventually they found success building out SMS infrastructure
Okay.
for the AT&Ts of Paraguay,
Okay.
Brazil,
Okay.
and eventually like 35 countries. And it's an extremely rare case. I think it's the only case of tech, like a company in tech expanding from Paraguay.
Okay.
And my family, or my mom had lived in Michigan for a year when she was 11 years old to learn English. She stayed at her distant cousin's family,
Yep.
changed her life absolutely. She learned English. That family that she lived with, they're all incredibly high achievers, like all Ivy League colleges and like doctors and lawyers and things like that. And so that was like the carrot that I was always compared to. Is like, why you couldn't be like that? You could be, like. So I got good grades in school, and by the time the college days appeared, I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and apply to school in the U.S., see what happens. Applied to something like 20 schools. By some miracle, I was accepted at Stanford. I went to Stanford. And I discovered I was going to do computer science because I saw what it could do, and I
Sure.
love, like it's computer science is amazing. I mean, like I hope everybody learns a little bit of it because it just changes how you think about the world. But I was also really interested in not just the how to build stuff, but also the why. And like, why
Right.
build this? And there's this major at Stanford called symbolic system, which is about 50% computer science, and the rest is psychology, philosophy, and linguistics. And I
Okay.
was like, that is exactly right. I want to understand how this impacts people. I want to understand, like, is this right? Is this correct? Like, what is really going on here? And then linguistics was kind of like a nice little add-on that really works today because of all of the language-based AI that, you have to understand what's going on from a
Right.
linguistics point of view in their
Yep.
brain,
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, Stanford was amazing, changed my life. I taught computer science there, turned that into a job at Google. I was an engineer for 4 years. I was in ads, and then I was in an AI team building an education app for kids. It was like a Snapchat kind of interface
Okay.
that you take
Okay.
a picture of your homework, and we gave you resources to solve it. Um, and um, and I loved it. I mean, Google was amazing. Google was an incredible place. But at some point, I wanted to grow my skill set beyond just software engineering, and it's very hard to have these more generalist roles in a very big organization. And so when the pandemic hit, my now wife was doing med school in Chicago. I moved to Chicago to live with her, and I decided to join my parents' company remotely. And my parents' company was pivoting from being an SMS infrastructure
Yep.
establishment to being an investment establishment,
Okay.
and to figure out how to like empower the next generation of Latin American
Yes.
entrepreneurs,
Yes.
and sort of give back to the community, right? And that was incredibly, it was a huge culture shock, as you may imagine, going from Google to the
Of
family
course.
business.
Of course.
Um,
They're
but it was
probably
also
waiting
really
for you.
special.
They're probably waiting for you. What
Oh
took you so long?
yeah. Oh yeah. There was a whole Lion King, situation, Uh, and but there was but it was it was really special talking about like family values and
Yes.
legacy, and like what are the protocols that we put in place so that we all hang out and that we all preserve the family values that got us to where we are. I mean, like, I could write thousands of novels about how much I love my family and what the heroism of my parents. Um, and so I did that for about 2 years. And my parents are, like, if you've met a founder, like a founder of anything,
Yep. Yep.
you know that they're like a type, and it's a particular kind of insanity. And my parents would say things like, you have to think like a founder and act like a founder and like have those founder instincts. And at some point, I think it was 2 years later, I was like, I think I need to actually build this stuff. I need to be in that position. I don't think this is something you can fake. You can't pretend to be a founder.
Right. Gotcha. I
Um,
get it.
and so I was like, all right, I'm gonna do my thing. I'm gonna press the eject button and launch myself into the abyss, and I'm gonna write myself into a corner and figure out what I'm gonna do. This is also around the time. So we moved back from Chicago to San Francisco because my wife was a resident physician at UCSF, and about within a month or so, ChatGPT had come out. So I was like, okay, I have the tools. It's gonna be something with AI. And I couldn't for the life of me find what that idea was, like everything was changing so quickly.
Sorry, I want to go back. So before you made that leap, you had no idea about ChatGPT in its existence or how it even because it's how it how the AI space
AI,
could help. Or did you have any insights in the
no,
AI space?
no, ChatGPT had come out already, and
Okay,
I could see how the technology could be applied,
got you.
but it was still so new. It was like OpenAI was killing all of these startups because they would build these things into ChatGPT. Or then I would look at, oh my gosh, you could rebuild everything with AI. But the companies that are already doing similar things, it's so easy for them to bake it in that I don't want to build like a better like word processor, let's say like Google Docs,
Yes, yes.
when Google could just like add AI features to Google Docs, and then I'm like, what's my whole thing? Um, so I knew like the materials were there, but I didn't know how the thing was going to work out. But one of the things that I realized was that the only part about AI that isn't going to change is the need for data. That we're always going to need high quality, good data, and um, And that data actually doesn't just, it's not just a passive thing that you put into AI and then it's like, oh, now it knows this thing. It actually, it's not that different from like when you read a book and there are some books that can change your life, like they
Yes.
actually rearrange,
Yes.
oh,
Yes.
this belief now moves here and like
Yes.
now this belief has a lot more nuance. Then I was like, oh, wait a minute. If AI is going to be the central thing of the future and we're feeding it garbage, we're feeding it the fast food,
Yes.
no nutrition version of information, like rage tweets and things like that, then we're going to get a monster out. As opposed to, like what is an alternative? And I was
Yes.
like, huh, maybe there's a story there. Maybe there's a story to tell um, about a secret agent trying to find meaning in the world, and you're figuring out what many competing layers of loyalty. How does he choose who to be loyal to?
Yes.
And so that became like it was just an idea that I was like expanded. It became a sci-fi. And it was the telling of my story in this really like a fictional way, but if you know me or if you know my story at all, you could definitely see that it's my story told in a different way. But the book, helped me organize all my philosophy. Like, where is this whole thing going? And like, what does it mean for jobs? What does it mean for health? And what does it mean for our sense of meaning? And I was
Right.
also really worried about um, our ability to create shared meaning in society. A couple
Hmm.
of years ago, I think things are better now. It's still pretty bad, but it's I think a little better than it was a few years ago when
Right.
the words that we used, we couldn't even agree on what they meant. Or there are certain phrases that would seem, or like maybe 5 years prior would have seemed totally normal, that became extremely incendiary to the point where people couldn't have a conversation anymore. And so there was a part of this project was like, how do we create an ability to create shared meaning
Yes.
that would not just work for human readers of the book, where it's just like, oh, I know what you mean, but artificial readers of the book too. And so that took over my life for about 6 months. It was one of the most like, rewarding things I did. And I felt this relief that I had
Right.
told my piece,
Yes.
this is me, like this is how I saw it. And um, and I remember thinking, wow, yeah, man. Like, and then in the future, when AI gets really smart, they'll just be able to unpack me from this story. Um, and I wish, I mean, everybody should go through this exercise of telling their
Right.
story and seeing
Story.
it written down and then, like relate to that. And not only is it really hard, impossible for people to take time to write their own story, it's also really hard for people to take time just to read my own book, like it's not even right. And so then I was like, okay, what's the next version of that? I wanted to sell the book. And so I started a podcast to promote it, where I talked with experts essentially about our humanity in the age of AI,
Yeah.
like philosophers, poets, Stanford professors, venture capitalists,
Yep.
entrepreneurs. And I love the format. I love this. This is the stuff
Yeah.
of life to me. This
Yep.
is like how one mind gets to know another, and you
Yes.
think about what's really going on in like the podcasting world or just conversation in general. Like there's so many layers of translation of information, and still we connect.
Yes. Yep.
Um, and so I loved it. I remember thinking, man, I wish I could interview everybody on Earth. Um,
Yeah.
I just don't have time for it. And at this point, AI was getting crazier and crazier. And one of the people that I at some point realized that I wanted to interview was my grandma. My grandma has this crazy life story. Her dad was an MI6 agent. They fled, or her dad stayed behind, but the family fled Europe during the war. They ended up in
Hmm.
Paraguay, of all places. They would communicate over secret messages. And it's this like mythology around like our great grandfather who was, a spy and like was, stayed back to fight for his country. And anyway, and so I wanted to interview her about her childhood essentially and like what that was like. And I didn't make it in time, you know. And when she had her stroke, that was the moment where I had to take a beat and be like, wait a minute, how do all the dots connect? And I was like, wait a
Right.
minute, I love storytelling, I love interviewing, I love this idea of narrative as
Yes.
self-understanding.
Yes.
I think that AI needs better data. I think AI already gets a lot of data, but it's about our base instincts. It's like where our eyeballs go when looking at
Yep.
an Instagram ad. And it doesn't even ask us like, where do we hope to be? Where do we want to be?
Mm.
What do we want for our kids? What do we want for the future?
Yes.
What do we
Yes.
hope for the world? And so then it kind of clicked together as this idea,
Yes.
wait, what if we could use AI to help us live the most exciting next chapter in the history of humanity, you know? And not just, I mean, like that is in aggregate, but individually, how do we help everybody live their most epic and meaningful lives? Um, and and that's how Autograph came to be. And Walter was the character that we created to be like, who's humanity's historian, right? Like who's the silent witness to
Yes.
the highs and lows in your life. And it's just been a one heck of a ride, man. It's been crazy. I mean, like because it's so new. The whole thing is so new.
Well, as you talk, and so first of all, thank you so much, Christian. There's a lot of a lot of great context. You're a storyteller, which I appreciate. But I gotta tell you, when you sort of look at what you're developing and what you've created, not developing, what you've created, um, it really is sort of that next generation. Like once upon a time, we put stuff in time capsules and said, "Hey, maybe the future will see it and see it right." And now we're saying, "Well, no, we're not going to put stuff in time capsules. We're going to actually take it another level and use technology in a manner that keeps you connected." So while the idea that you built on isn't brand new per se, I think the vehicle and the mechanism using technology is very cutting edge and really makes it even more real and tangible than it ever was before.
Oh yeah, and like we've been able to record voice for a long time,
Sure.
but we haven't really like there's no organized system for it. Like there's voice notes in your phone app, or there's like cassette tapes, or there's like it's not organized, it's messy, it's like it gets lost. There's no final products that you make out of it. So what we try to do is like solve that entire problem that like a lot of and every family has the family historian, like the ancestry.com person that is building
Yeah,
a
yeah. Oh
family
yeah. Oh yeah.
tree
Yeah.
and
My older
you know
brother, he's the guy. Yeah. Oh yeah.
and all families have this, and it's like no, they don't get the credit that they deserve
No.
at all. They are literally keeping the identity of where we come from together. And so what we want to make is like, wait a minute, what if we could just actually have that job would be much easier? The whole family gets to benefit from it. But then this next layer of interactivity where it's not just a static recording of a thing that happened that you play over and over. What if you could talk to it and hear grandma's laugh?
Yeah. Yep.
And that
Wow.
one is pretty crazy. I mean, like, and it's pretty wild.
It's funny. As of late on social media, we're seeing the resurrection of Tupac, and all of a sudden he's all over the place,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he's on The Price Is Right, and he's on the Mister Rogers' Neighborhood, and he's in the wrestling ring, and he's and again, it's so crazy. But it's sort of it's sort of building on a little bit what you're talking about, right? And they're just taking it to another level, and it's interesting now because you're seeing like there's clearly two sides of this. Some people are like, oh my gosh, and other people are like, no, you should there's what's sacred, like why are we doing this, and
Yeah,
right. So I understand, and I think we'll work through those sort of issues, whether and understand the ethics of what we're doing, and if there are if issues in general,
totally.
we'll get
Yeah.
there. But I do think again, using technology in the manner that it has been, like it's exciting. Like I can't see how you don't get excited. I'm sure you do on a daily
Yeah.
basis. But so that was my sort of my AI sort of ranted a little bit. But I'm very curious because it's very clear that storytelling is important to you. And storytelling matters to you. I wonder if you can sort of talk about, why it has been so significant in your life.
Um, I think that this is like the biggest lesson from the writing my story was that I can't tell apart who I think I am and the story I tell myself. Like I am just the story I tell myself every day when I wake up. I remember being something that came from somewhere that had these different experiences, and it's a retelling of my identity. your brain is retelling your identity every second. Like it's reinventing itself and reinterpreting itself. Every pass through it, like every wave of information that comes to my brain is just a retelling of that story. If you write your story and appreciate the layers of participation that you have in your story,
Right.
as a first of all, just accept that you're the protagonist. That's a huge hurdle for so many people. Um, a lot of moms struggle with this. A lot of women struggle with this. A lot of men struggle with this. You know, like the fact that like for some reason your camera is in your point of view, right?
Mm.
I don't know why, and I don't know why it's me, but I am the protagonist in my story. Um, and am I a heroic protagonist?
Right.
You know,
Right.
and then there's the other question is I'm not just the protagonist. I'm actually the author. You know, I am writing out this story every choice I make. You know, like I am deciding whether I'm the heroic character or if
Right.
I'm a pathetic, or if I am a victim, or if I am, courageous. I'm making a choice. Every word that I utter is a vote for the future that I the end of the story. Um, but then you're not just the author either. You're also the editor. You get to interpret your life. You get
Yes.
to decide whether this thing was a good or bad thing, and like something that was tragic could become like so meaningful and powerful. And like at the end of 10 years later, you may look back and say, like, I'm so grateful that this happened to me. Because of that, I was able to become this other
Right.
thing that pointed me in the direction that I needed to go. Um, and then you're not just the editor either. You're also the publisher. You choose how to present your story. You choose like what, you have a podcast, you know that better than anybody. You're putting yourself
Right.
out there in a
Right.
way, and you're trying to amplify some part of you that you hope to see reflected back into the world, and that you hope the world reflects back into you. Um, and I mean, that's just the very high level, simple, quippy version of it. But if
Mhm.
you really internalize it, like if you really feel like the main character, if you really feel like the author, if you really feel like the editor, if you really feel like the publisher, it's almost like a cheat code for life. Like
Yeah.
reality
Yeah.
becomes like a thing that you can hack. Um, and so I think that's like why storytelling has become so powerful. I mean, like it's the only thing we've ever had. Like,
Mm.
the only thing we've ever like it's the mother of all technologies.
Yep. Yep.
When, our great ancestors were like figuring out how to grow stuff, agriculture, and they were looking
Yeah.
at the stars and trying to predict seasons, like
Yes.
can you imagine
Yes.
the guys who came up with the concept of seasons and like how the movement of the stars and the
Yep.
planets would like allow them to understand where they were in
Hmm.
space and time? They all the way that they would remember the stuff was through stories.
Stories.
Um, and that's all we've inherited, man. Over and over and over and over. We're just one story that keeps repeating itself and branching out into different
Yes.
characters and side quests.
Yep.
It's like the foundation of reality to me. Stories and storytelling is the expression.
Yes. Well, and I can also see as you describe it even from a self-awareness and personal growth standpoint. You can learn about yourself through stories. Sometimes maybe so there have been instances where maybe a situation occurs in that moment and you're part of the story, right? And you're not able to understand what's happening because you're part of it. But when you get that distance that remove, you got the perspective, you're like, oh, and you learn about yourself. So from a self-awareness and personal growth standpoint, I think they're a beautiful thing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, yeah. I mean, but also think about it. There's another layer too. You're not just a protagonist. You are a side character in every other
Yes, you
person's
are.
story,
You
man.
are.
So are you an NPC? Are you just like a cardboard figure that, could be replaced by someone else? Like, or do you add the spice of life to every interaction that you have?
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
do you actually add a little spice to the world?
Right. Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
and and then for some other people, like you're a very important character. You're an older brother, or you're a younger brother, or you're a father, or you're a husband, whatever. Like, and so your relationship becomes very archetypal. Like,
Hmm.
this is certainly the case with my dad. My dad is like the father, uh,
Yes. Yes.
and one of the nice things about Autograph is that I would never want to break that I would never want my dad to break character. Um,
Mm,
like I would never want him to feel that like has gotten to the point where he doesn't need to be the dad. Uh, but
yes.
like I know that he was scared of stuff. I know that he worried about stuff. I know that
Mhm.
he made difficult decisions that he shielded us from.
Right.
Uh, and I think that it's important to create a space for people to be able to share that so that when the future comes or posterity comes, you can figure out what that difference was between the external and the internal. I
Mm,
mean, I'm building a company now. I'm dealing with 1,000 uncertain things, but also I
sure.
project this image of confidence for the team, right? Like, I have to be a leader, and so, and I think that's extremely important. When I
Of
look back
course.
10 years from now, like,
Yeah.
oh, that thing. Could you imagine? I was like, I didn't know how much hiring a marketing agency cost. Like, and now it's like, oh, So totally agree with you on that. I mean, it's wild.
I love it. I love it. I want to talk about so thinking all that you're doing with autograph AI and what that's developing into, what your vision for it is for it. There's a part of this which I think is really really interesting because you're taking technology and sort of working collaboratively with the sort of the human touch or human spirit, if you will, and the two are sort of working collaboratively together. That's right. That's really what we're talking about
Yeah.
here. Uh, um, how do you balance who takes the lead or who, like, because that's a part of it too, right? Where it's
Mm.
I mean, like if you want this to be an all AI project, you could, or if you want to be all a human centered approach, you could do
Sure.
that too. How do you balance between the two?
I think it goes back to this question of the how and the why, right? I think um, they're both halves of the same coin. You don't
Mm,
have this doesn't exist without technology, and this doesn't exist without the humans using it.
right.
The why is definitely the humanity. The why is because, oh my God, we live in this day and age where, you click a button and you have infinite music, all of the best music of all time. You click another button and you have all of the knowledge of all time. You click another button,
Mm,
you have all the videos that have ever been recorded. Um, and we have a faucet of actual water. It's so silly that that's not even the first one that I
right.
said.
Right. Yeah.
And we have access to healthcare. Like the world, it took a lot of sacrifice to get to the world that we inherited.
Yes. Yes.
And and there's a feeling there that connects us to the late nights that grandma put up with over decades of sacrifice so that we could get here. And that's why we do it, man. Like we do it because, because family means something in this world. And because
Yeah.
um and community means something in this world, and like shared meaning at the we're all in this arc together, floating up, I don't even know how many miles an hour, like across space and time and the void. Um and and I think that if we embark on the project of figuring ourselves out, then whatever we can do with technology becomes the kingdom of heaven.
Gotcha.
um And so there's no one without the other. I think
Gotcha.
technology is
Yep.
is the stone tools that we use to
Yes.
build the house that we live in.
I actually I've heard different there's these days there's tons of AI experts, like there's no shortage of AI experts
Oh
and
yeah.
everyone knows something, but I will say and the sort of common thread that I've seen through the different and I'm not master expert at this either. I've just kind of paid attention to what I've heard and sort of my ears perk up. It's again that, and I think, and I said earlier about using AI collaboratively, right? And so it's like
Yeah.
as opposed to giving it, I want you to do this. It's, well, what do you think about this?
Right.
And watch sort of
Yeah.
the different options avail themselves,
Oh yeah.
and then it gives you, okay, so if I did this, what happens? I add this, and now you're co-creating, and I think
Exactly.
that's within the scope of what you, so you talk about with what you're doing, and it's like, okay, so my grandmother did this, but what happened here? Oh well, then she did that, and then she did it, and your grandfather, like, and so that's how I see it evolving in that way, where it really
Totally.
is a collaborative, co-creating model.
Exactly. I mean, like you got it exactly right. I mean, we don't think of autograph as it's not about the past. It's about the future.
Mm.
It's a time capsule. It's like what are our prayers for the next generation and
Yep.
the generation we won't ever see. And if you have like your entire life story with all the side characters and all the things and all the cultural artifacts and your job experience and everything, and all of a sudden you can ask AI to start imagining the future for you, you know?
Yes.
What happens if I move to New York? What happens if I break up with my girlfriend? What happens if I ask her out? What happens if I apply for this job? Uh, and you can simulate a weekend. You can simulate a career choice. You can simulate a relationship. Not for actual, like, you could just, it's input, right? It's just like the same
Yes.
way you imagine and daydream. It's like augmented daydreaming with AI. Um, in the service of you actually taking the most finite and most precious resource that all humans have, about the same amount, that's time. And how do you make that time count? There's a line in If by Rudyard Kipling, my favorite poem, that says, if you can fill the unforgiven minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. And what's more, you'll be a man, my son. And that is very much the ethos. That is like, it's like we got, how do I make the most of this thing that we have, you know? And like I'm still like, why is there something? You
Yes.
know, like
Yeah.
what, you know, like why me? Why this? Why now?
Yep. Yep.
Um, and so yeah, you're exactly right. And we want Walter to be a silent witness to your life. So he's the guy who can be there for you in the highs and in the lows. He
Love
can
it.
celebrate the wins and mourn the losses, um and he helps you remember who you are and helps you get your story straight in the meantime. In
My
the process
homie.
of
Yeah. As I say, my homie Walter. I love it. He's just that
Dude,
guy.
I mean, dude, and like and when you said like he's your cousin, I was like, man, to me, it's like this really weird brother, you know, like, and I'm like, is he my digital employee? Who knows he's my digital employee? And like, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. 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 So in all that you do and all that you've done, how important has creative risks have been to you and taking them? I
Creative
mean,
what?
creative
Oh
risk
my
taking.
God. Oh my gosh. Jeez. Well, imagine rage quitting cushy tech jobs to go write a sci-fi novel, you know, in San Francisco, 2022, you know,
Right.
or then to start a company that does this, you know, uh, talk about a creative risk, you know, like this is, and
Mm.
I'm really, and I'm all in, you know, like I'm betting my name on it. I'm like literally my autograph, you know, um, and you don't know what you're made of until you take a creative risk. Like I've used this idea of like inside versus outside. You know,
Okay.
like most of the time we live inside. And most of the time we're doing the things that we know in the space, in the box that we build for ourselves. This is your job. This is like your roles that you fill in your family or whatever. Like we live in this box. And then there's outside, which is like something else, something different. And it's the hero's journey, you know, like you have to leave the home because there's some
Yes.
call to adventure that you
Yes.
may even deny, that eventually becomes overpowering, and you have to leave the comfort of inside and feel yourself completely lost. All your compasses are all like decalibrated and you don't know up and down, and you don't know, no clue how it's going to work out. And you have to just hold the faith. And you know, like I watched, this is so silly, but like I keep coming back to this example. There's you know, Halo, the video game.
Yeah.
So there's a show about Halo that's on Paramount Plus, I think. And
Okay.
there's it doesn't really matter, but you know, the Master Chief, the main character, is like the ultimate hero, you know, like there's an impossible alien army and he's the last human who's like brave enough to go after them, right?
Yep.
And so he's in this ship and they're going at light speed and they're dodging 100,000 things, and the ship is not built for this thing. And the whole crew is terrified, you know. And you know, like, Master Chief, like this isn't gonna work. And Master Chief just looks at them and says, like, shield hold. And like, and to talk about the ship like going through space. And that is the feeling, you know, like it's just like, I don't think this is gonna work. But if you hold the faith, something happens on the other side
Mm.
that you reinterpret yourself as being capable of way more that maybe inside was a limitation, that a cage that you put on yourself, that you put yourself in. And I mean, it's the scariest thing in the world. It's legitimately scary. Like, do you have any idea how many times I question my sanity?
Yeah.
Like, is this real life? You know, like, does this make sense that we can, like, you know, like, preserve human essence into the future so that, you know, we could all go to Mars, you know, like, so that we can come back as robots, so that we can come back as biological things like 1,000 years in the future, you know?
You're
And I'm
saying
like,
it. I'm like, wow, well, yeah. It's like the possibilities of where things can go have just increased tenfold, and you're like, wow, okay, okay.
I mean, imagine being able to, we store all this lived experience in inherited form. 100 years from now, we have stuff like there's no phones anymore. It's all in our brains. Um, we would be able to relive the lives of our ancestors, you know, like all of them. And so you would have all of their memories in your brain, and you would remember all of lived experience when making your decision. And it would just be like the same way you remember something today, you don't even know how it happens. Like, that's how it would be. Um,
I mean,
so it gets,
I'm thinking. I remember back, you know, the Star Trek used to have those holodecks, right, where you could relive times in the past, just walking in, and this
yeah,
is what you're talking about. And I think we're on the
totally.
verge of that. Like, it's there.
We're, and I say 100 years just to be conservative. They could be 15, you know,
Wow. Okay.
you know.
Wow.
Um, but yeah, I mean, like, creative risk taking. I mean, I can't find. I don't know where it is in me that I realized that I needed to do it. But this was something that at this point felt inevitable, you know.
Yes.
Um, and I think anybody who goes into creative pursuit, a podcast, a book, a
Yep.
painting, a movie, um, uh, it's almost like there's something working through you that needs to come out. Um,
Mm,
and you know, part of me has been trying to figure out what that is, and you know, and what is that flavor of that for everybody, you know.
gotcha. Gotcha. The part of that was talk about creative risk taking. I think it works really hand in hand nicely with curiosity and the important. I think look, I got to tell you, like, if I were to identify, like, you know, my top three topics and things to think about or talk about, like, curiosity on that list. It
Oh,
definitely
100%.
is. Like, to me, one of the biggest difference makers in lives, from our ability to understand the world, but also to understand each other. Like,
Agree.
imagine living in a world where everyone was genuinely curious. Not just I'm not trying to know your business. That's not what it is. What I'm talking about. Generally curious about the other person. Like, you know, all of a sudden judgment is suspended. The benefit of the doubt's given regularly and freely. You know, there's always this general excitement, because curiosity breeds excitement, just naturally does, right? And so
Totally.
I
It's a
think
mystery. I agree with you. Curiosity is my number one thing. My podcast is called Rabbit Hole Research.
okay, okay,
So it's all, the main character in the novel is called Rabbit because he is very curious, and you know, uh, the no curiosity, and curiosity about your own self too. You know, like, is
sure.
everything that I believe in actually true, or is it just easy for me to believe, and it's scary for me to change that belief? You know.
I actually heard someone once say, and I so agree with this, is that every single one of us, there's something that we wholeheartedly believe with our entire being that we're absolutely wrong about.
100%. 100%.
That's mind blowing. It's still, every time I hear that, I
Yeah.
go, yeah. I pause and go, yeah. Oh man, it's
I mean,
humbling, right? Yeah. It's oh yeah.
oh my gosh. One of the nice things, one of the, but also difficult things about studying philosophy is that even just defining something like truth is pretty damn difficult. You know, like, how do I know something? How do I know that it's true? What is true again? Like, do I need another person to confirm that that is true? Like,
Yep.
does it, you know, it's like this whole crazy thing. No, but I agree with you. Curiosity. Um, I think everybody has it in them to take the risk. I
Yes.
think living in a perpetual state of risk is for some people more than others.
Yep.
And I think that's fine. And I think part of the role of the risk taker is to reduce the risk for those around them, you know?
That's a good point.
Um,
That's a great point.
and I think about this like with founders or CEOs or community leaders of any kind, like they're setting a strategic direction so that the little variables that could change things um, reduce the complexity, right? So the leadership is dealing with like the existential nature of the company. Like, are we building something of value that other people are happy about, that they're willing to pay for, that pays our bills enough so that everybody benefits? Um, and so there's a reduction of that uncertainty for the collaborators. Like when you subscribe to a risk taker, this is true when you subscribe to an artist that like I like music like this, and so then there's this, like all of a sudden there's artists that make music like that, and so
Mm.
like there's these movements that start emerging, um, but um, but it's the most rewarding thing. I mean, and I do think like or being in this creative position, which could be any kind of great or important undertaking,
Yep.
that um, you just learn to let go of the inside. Like you don't know where the problems are going to come. There's going to be a problem at every corner, and it's going to be something you never expected. My gosh, like this compliance thing, or oh my gosh, the market's turned, or there's
Yes.
war
Yes.
in
Yes.
Iran,
Yes.
and like you never know, what the
That's
angle is
right.
going to be. So you just
That's
have to
right.
be ready. You can't
That's right.
prepare for everything. You just
No,
have to accept that you're going to be taking it in the chin, and you're going to have to figure out a way to keep going.
that's
Um,
it. I like
yeah,
it.
that's basically it.
I like it. I like it. I like it. Um, with all that you're doing, I'm wondering, Christian, if you could give or leave one piece of advice to your younger self, and let's say you're using Autograph AI to do that, what would you tell yourself, younger self?
Don't listen to advice. And it's pretty meta because if you do, then you're listening to my advice.
It's a catch 22.
I think that there's probably the biggest thing to unpack it a bit more is advice is like reading something from a textbook. It's
Okay.
not, you can remember it and you can call on it from memory, but the real thing is modeling. So actually find the people that you want to emulate. Who's an example that you want to follow? And what you'll find pretty quickly is that, oh, this person is an example for this part of life. That other part of life I want different,
Right.
you know? And so think about your role models and how you want to be like them more so than do like them.
Mm. Just really looking
And
at
which,
what got them to where they were, what got them to the place that they're at, and what was it, what they do, how they do it, not necessarily
yeah,
doing follow the cookie cutter and be like them.
yeah, don't do what they tell. Listen to how they're saying it. Listen to what they did. Like, it's the show not tell kind of thing. Show, like you could be, professor of something amazing and everything, but you may have a really hard time sustaining a relationship,
Right.
and okay, sure, like maybe does one come at the cost of the other?
Mm.
Are there examples of people who've successfully done both? Maybe that's my role model,
Got you.
Um, so I think don't listen
Yeah.
to advice. That's
Got
my
you.
that's my
That
advice.
works. That works. I gotta tell you, Christian, man, I really appreciate these insights and perspectives, and when you sort of think about sort of how it all fits into this audacious way of life that we promote here, it's bang on.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I'm curious, what's the first word that comes to your mind when you hear audacity?
I think courage. I mean, they're very similar. Um, I think audacity really captures the inside outside thing that I have going on in my mind.
Mm,
Audacity is like maybe the house, maybe this is the world that I live in is too small. Maybe I can dream bigger.
mm.
Um, and I think we should do that once a month at least. Go through that exercise, be like, can I be thinking bigger? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And so for me, what I really appreciate about Audacity is that, sometimes people will, there's a lot of things I appreciate about, but it's giving me a platform to talk with people like yourself. But I think the one thing that really stands out to me is that audacious actions, there's no size limitation or how small it can be. So, for example, maybe me speaking up in a meeting for the first time because I've never done it, that's audacious.
That's
Maybe
audacious.
maybe me being at a same meeting, flipping the table over because I'm pissed off. Maybe that's audacious too. Like it's very personalized, right? And I think that gives each of us an opportunity to exercise it in a manner that suits for us and the situation. And so it's not a one size fit all is really is what the point I'm making.
No, and I love this idea. It's the smallest thing.
Yeah.
It's a thought. It's a thought in your head, in the deepest of your secret, like
Love it.
if that thought, if it's like a little bigger, a little different, a little bit more like self-owned, like self-worth, I mean that ripples into eternity.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about the book one more time here. If people who want to connect with that, or give us a
Oh,
time.
sure. The book is called Traces. It's in my Twitter profile. You can find the link to it. My Twitter profile is Life of CCB. My initials are CCB. But if you're interested in autograph or any of that stuff, if you have a family member whose story you need to preserve, who
Yep.
you want your future generations to get to know, autograph.ai. We're very early stage. We want to help. We want to find people who love their families so we can build this product for them and with them. And check it out. I mean, like it's me times 10 what the company is, and
Well,
we
you and
hope we
Walter.
build some.
You and Walter.
Oh yeah, me and Walter and 10 other people is what I meant to say. Yeah, check
Nice.
it out.
For
Anybody
sure.
who wants to rediscover the amazingly heroic life they've already been living without even knowing it, this is also for you.
Oh, I love that phrasing. Discovering amazing. Oh, I love that. Say that again. I love that one.
It was a one-time thing. I kind of blacked out when I said it. So
I felt the same way
ask,
listening to it. That's why I asked for it again. We're gonna have to
so
rewind the tape there. Ask Walter to
rewind
give
the
it to
tape
us again.
30 seconds, like, yeah, that's how you know it's unscripted, man. Like,
Christian, man, like I said, this has been good.
This has been great, man.
Really, really good. I so appreciate this. I love the work. I love what Autograph AI is, on the cusp of doing for individuals and families and legacies. It's also amazing. Congratulations on taking your own audacious leap into this direction and now making a difference in the way that you have. It's so funny to think about it. Like you think about that time where we all get that point of decision. Do I stay? Do I go? Do I jump? Do I not? Right? And now after you make the jump, you look back and go, wow, I wouldn't have done all this if I didn't make that jump. Like it's so incredible when you sort of think about that decision and how earth shaking it can be potentially. And so congratulations on making that one. And again, thanks for being a guest on the Audacious Living Podcast.
Great being here, Audley. Thanks for having me.
Very cool. Back we are, and I gotta tell you, Cristian definitely had a few moments in this conversation where he said something so good, he almost had to rewind his own tape to catch it again, But really stayed with me was his idea that storytelling is not just something we share, it's something that we live. The way Cristian talked about being the protagonist, the author, the editor, and even the publisher of your own life really drives home how important and how much power we have in shaping who we become. And that what makes his work so compelling is that, yes, it involves AI and emerging technology, but underneath all of that is something deeply human. Legacy, meaning, memory, connection. That really is the heartbeat of this entire conversation. And when you hear someone talk about preserving stories, protecting family history, and helping people better understand themselves, it naturally opens the door to a bigger question. What happens when bold thinking meets real human need? Just think for a moment. What if preserving the past could help shape the future? It's time for an audacious insight where we take a quick look at something happening in the real world that reflects the power of bold thinking and intentional action. Now, in 2023, musician Paul McCartney used AI-assisted audio restoration to help complete what became promoted as a final Beatles song, pulling John Lennon's voice from an old demo and turning a fragment from the past into something meaningful for the present. What makes that moment so powerful is not just the technology, it's the intention behind it, using innovation to preserve memory, honor legacy, and deepen human connection. The boldest use of technology is not replacing what matters most, it's helping us hold on to it. You can learn more about Cristian's work by visiting Autograph AI, and if you want to check out his book Traces, you can find that through the links mentioned in the conversation. And if this episode gave you something to think about, share it with someone who'd get value from it. Make sure you're following the podcast, of course, and if you haven't already done so, leave a review, because sometimes that leap that changes your life starts with one idea you finally decide to trust. And sometimes the future opens up the moment you stop playing small and start listening to what's calling you forward. Until next time, keep living life audaciously.
Driven by purpose, fueled by passion. My words got power, my thoughts have action. Motivation, stay gracious, that's greatness.